He's gonna. You are live. Fighting at a blue. Oh, I wonder if I can. Oh no, I'll turn my Bluetooth off. Hey guys, I hope you're all good. I suppose I should start my channel. Welcome to my channel, Bitglen. My name's Glenn, and I like to share with you what I learn in the world of cryptocurrency as I go through it. So, I'm actually on my way up to north, and this, I think I explained yesterday, although I was really tired yesterday, and I think I just spoke really fast and sleepy. I'm actually going to renovate a property that I'm going to, after, get a remortgage on to do a like a buy-to-let, which, if you're not from the UK, means that I'm buying a house and I'm going to rent it out, and then obviously get the rental income as a passive income, as seems to be the buzzword online. But this is something that I've been wanting to do for ages and ages. I actually bought my first property when I was 20, which is fairly young in the UK to buy a first house. And I remember I didn't know what I was doing really, like in terms of renovating, and I just watched YouTube videos. So I replaced the bathroom, I replaced the kitchen, I painted the whole place, then I put like coving up, new carpets. I didn't put the carpets down, I must admit. And I remember thinking, like, I only had the property probably 6 months to a year, and at the time there was a housing boom in the UK, but I wasn't aware of any of this. And I got the estate agents around. I said, oh, what's it worth now that I've sort of renovated it a bit? And they said, oh, it's gone up. I can't remember the exact figures, but I think I bought it for something like 85 to 90,000 pounds. So it's about $110,000, something like that. And had the estate agents round, and they were like, oh, it's gone up, I think about 20 grand. Now at the time, obviously at that time I was about 21, I remember thinking, shit, that's like more money than I could save up, you know, like probably within, like, at the time I was only earning, I remember I used to work at a supermarket stacking shelves. I used to get like £1,200 a month, maybe 1,500, something like that. I don't think it was even that much actually. It might have been just 1,000. I think I earned just over 1,000 a month. And I remember thinking, God, that would take me like 3 or 4 years and that's just to earn that, not to save it. To save it, God, I would have had to put probably £100 a month aside. £100 is 1,200 obviously over a year. I was thinking, God, that would take me 20 years to save that amount up. So just from then, I just tried to absorb as much knowledge as I could about the housing sector, doing sort of mortgages, buy-to-lets, renovating. So I was learning how to fit bathrooms, fit kitchens, the tax side of it, the mortgage side of it, you know, like anything I could. I was watching, I remember like my day consisted of like, obviously being at work, but on my lunch breaks watching YouTube videos about property, coming home, having dinner and watching, like, there was a program called Property Ladder, and then I used to watch Homes Under the Hammer. I used to watch what's some of the other Location. The one with Kevin Cloud in it, what's his name? What's that? It was like Dream Home or something like that. And I was just learning about as much as I could. A big inspiration was my granddad. He owned his own construction firm. Grand Designs, that's the one. Yes. Well done. Yeah, so my granddad was a big inspiration because he owns his own construction firm, and he always used to say to me, Glenn, why don't you come work with me? Why don't you work, with your uncles? And over the years, I saw all my family go and work for my granddad. Like, literally all of them did. And there was always arguments, like always family spats. And I'd hear it because obviously my mum normally was in the middle. So I didn't really have a dad growing up, but when she used to have boyfriends, or obviously I had a stepdad for a little while, she would say to him like, oh, why don't you go work for my dad? And then they'd go and do it, and then they'd come home and say, oh, they've only paid me this much. And then my mum would ring them up and say, why'd you only pay him that much? And what, and then there would just be arguments all the time, fights. And I always remember when I was little, I was against my granddad, but I just thought I don't want to get involved in all of that. So I stuck clear of it. But then I always thought, but eventually I want to build homes. And that's always been sort of like my goal, actually. So my goal, and this is, I have to be honest, this is why I'm in cryptocurrency, or one of them. One, because I'm interested in the space. That's key. But ideally, if I can make money either investing in cryptocurrency enough to make me be able to go and buy a plot of land, build a house outright, or even very close to it, even with its like say if I got enough money to at least get halfway through the build and I only had to mortgage so much of the rest. That is why I'm in cryptocurrency, really. And or I'll say this, it's really hard actually, it's not the 100% reason. I never thought about, oh yeah, I'll get involved in Bitcoin because then I can buy a plot of land. I was into it because I was interested in the space. That's first and foremost. Otherwise, I could just invest in anything. I'd be like, oh, why don't I invest in stocks and shares? Why don't I invest in, whatever? And at the time, I had a decent chunk of money. Years I've set up a couple of my own businesses that have done well. I've earned money from them. I've never ever touched stocks and shares, never. Which I wish obviously I did, but to me it was always the speculative wealth builder owner is built like renovating homes. So from that first sale, it was like a light bulb moment in my head. And I remember I had two buyers that were arguing to buy my house, and in the end I got over the asking price, which is quite unheard of now, unless you undervalue your home. But they were arguing about buying my place. So from that, I was like, right, we're going to sell this home. We had no children. Obviously, I'm only 21. I was thinking, the next home we buy, we will buy a doer-upper just to renovate and then sell it. We'll literally buy it, move in, renovate it, and then sell it and move out. And we did that. And I remember the whole process of buying the next home to the day that I was moving out was 3 to 4 months. The whole process, that is moving into the house, renovating it, and then putting it on the market, finding a buyer, and then actually moving out. It was 3 months all in total. And on that house I made something like, I honestly can't remember the figures off the top of my head, but it was a decent chunk, it was very profitable. But I never actually saw this money because all I was doing was putting the money on the next house. I then bought a third house and did the same. We just bought it, renovated it, moved out. And by the time I got the fourth one, I think we took out, I'm going to say 15 grand. And me, and at the time my wife, I said, we'll get married, and because you've been helping me fulfill my dream of obviously renovating homes and stuff, and I didn't have to work at the time, so I actually gave up work to renovate these properties. So I was like, because you've helped me, just here you go, just whatever wedding you want, go and get it, you know, top of the range, whatever. And she was over the moon. We got married. Then after that, or just as that happened, we had our first son, Jack. And then I bought, like I say, the next house, renovated it, and bearing in mind that all of this was tax-free because we were living in the properties as we were going along. There's a law in the UK where if you live in the house that you've made growth on, you aren't liable for any capital gains tax. So yeah, we didn't have to pay tax on any of this. Anyway, by the time we got to the fourth one, I remember we was on our honeymoon. It was in 2008, and literally while I was on holiday, we was in Portugal. This was our honeymoon. We had our little baby Jack. He was I don't know, he must have been, I'm gonna say 4 to 6 months old. So it wasn't that sort of honeymoon, if you know what I mean. We had a baby with us every night, crying his eyes out in a hotel. It was very stressful. But then I know the housing market crashed in 2008, and I was like, shit. The stock market crashed, and they were saying, oh, these are record levels of loss, 40% in a day. And I remember watching it on news, and it was sort of like on BBC Worldwide, which was the only news channel in Portugal at the time that was in English, Portuguese, I should say, sorry. And yeah, I was thinking, oh no, they're saying house prices are going to crash. What does that mean for me? Now at the time, obviously I was panicking. I was like, oh no, but I just plodded on and got on with it. But then what happened was the interest rates went from, I think at the time, 5%, 5.5%, down to about, I think it was like 0.5, if I remember correctly. Someone may say, no, actually you're wrong now, but they went down a lot. I can't remember exactly what they went down to. I think in the UK it might be 0.75, but oddly enough, when we got our mortgage for that house, because I thought, oh, we're not going to be living in it for a long time. Where are you off to? Your new house? Yeah, I am, mate. I'm on my way there now. 4-hour drive. I've been driving for about 2.5, so I've got about an hour and a bit left. So then I bought this house with the intention of only being in it again another 4 months. So I actually set up a tracker mortgage. So I got really lucky here. This is where I got really lucky. I set up a tracker mortgage, not a fixed one. Most people, I don't know if any of you know differences between trackers and fixed rates and interest only versus, come on, we're live again. Bad connection to say bye. Sorry mate, yeah, it is. I am driving along the motorway, to be fair. I don't think it'd be amazing. Yeah, so I got a mortgage that was a tracker mortgage, and I was only paying a little bit above the Bank of England base rate. I think I was paying 0.25 above the Bank of England base rate. Now, bearing in mind, obviously, for a long time, no one had ever heard of, these type of mortgage products. But because obviously the banks were gambling with everyone's money at the time, they were just like, oh, get mortgages, give everyone a mortgage, give everyone a mortgage, whatever you had. I got my mortgage. I remember it was called a self-certificate mortgage. And what that meant was you had to sign a form to say like you earn, right, hang on a second. This might cut out here a second. Yeah, so when the interest rates went down, I was paying about $550 a month, and all of a sudden I was then paying, once the interest rates went down because I was on this tracker mortgage, £120 a month. So my outgoings went down massively. So I was over the moon. I had no credit cards, no loans, just the mortgage, and I was over the moon.